Good afternoon. I would like to welcome you to the lecture of Professor Hiroshi Ishii. Professor Hiroshi Ishii is head of the Tangible Media Group at MIT. The focus of the group is dedicated to the conversion of the digital information to such a form of information that we can truly perceive with human senses, and literally we can touch it. The topic of today's lecture is tangible bits and radical atoms, and I am very happy that Professor Hiroshi Ishii will give us an idea of the future of information transfer. So, dear Professor, I am very glad that you visited the Czech Technical University in Prague, that you reserved time for the lecture, and that you will share your ideas with us. So thank you very much, and you have the floor.
Thank you very much. So, good evening. It's a great pleasure and so honor. This is my first visit to Prague. It's so gorgeous. All the architecture, history, culture is amazing. But also friendship and also hospitalities of the colleagues from Czech Technical Universities and also camp. Last evening I gave a talk in the camp. It's quite amazing. So I'd like to thank Marcel for introducing me for tonight. And today I'd like to talk research I've been doing in the past 30 years in the community of HCI. Who is a member of the ACM? ACM stands for Association for Computing Machineries, maybe one of the biggest professional community of computer science, and in which there's a special sub-community called SIGCHI, Special Interest Group of Computer-Human Interactions. That's a field I've been working in the past 30 years. And this year, in May, I had a chance to receive this award, Lifetime Research Award, while I'm still alive. Then I gave a talk compressing my research in the past 30 years into 40 minutes. So tonight, I'd like to go through all this process as one instance of the research trajectories, evolution. And also, if you're interested, you can search Glasgow and Ishii, my name. Then you can get a link to this Vimeo site, which has full lectures, also slide on the Facebook. How many people do the Facebook? Oh, not so many. How many people following me? You can follow, it's 3. Also, how many people do Twitter? Okay, I do both, and you can really follow me. Then you can get all the link about the slide or other stuff. But first of all, I have to thank to many, many people, and among them, most important people is the students who worked together in the past 25 years at MIT to battle against pixel empires. Also, I was in the communities called the SIGCHI for 30 years. So starting in 1989, I met many important heroes or mentors and friends, so that through which we could develop a lot of ideas. So now, my former students as professors doing a lot of the activities in these communities. Also, this is Professor Ben Schneiderman. He published the book about all the pioneers in this community, picking up all the photos he shot in the past 30 years. Among them, I have a very special important people I really want to thank. One is Douglas Engelbart. He's my real hero, and he's the inventor of the vision for the collective intelligence. Also, Mark Weiser, he's a father of ubiquitous computing. And Bill Mitchell, he was the dean of the School of Architecture and Planning at MIT, and he also advised me a lot. How many people have a computer science background? Computer science. Architecture. Design. Oh, good. A lot of design people. Art. Oh, we need more. Yeah, anyway. So, also, we met a lot of important people. Mario Tokoro, he introduced me to the Alan Kay. Then Alan Kay and the Nicolas Pontes really changed my life because they headhunted me to come to MIT in 1994. Yes. So today's lecture is about history, starting from a seamless media design, which I started in NTT before my life at MIT. I was working for the gigantic telecommunication industry called NTT. Then moved to MIT, then started Thunderbirds, and then Radical Atoms. So telecommunication industry in 1980s and also 90s, they have a dream, vision to make information superhighway, to make a high-speed network, to really provide a lot of the multimedia service. Unfortunately, ATM technology and the broadband ICN never be materialized because being replaced by the high-speed internet. But one of the missions is how to create a new value of the high-speed network, so that I focus about the CSCW, computer-supported cooperative work, how to help people work together using computer and communication over distance, specifically real-time video. So 1990, my team created a system called Team Workstation, which I want to introduce.
Team Workstation provides distributed users with a seamless shared workspace. Each user can continue to use favorite application programs or desktop
I'm using a very simple technique of half translucent video overlay, computer screen, also desktop image captured by camera, with overlay translucently, then exchange with the remote people, so that you can share sheet of the paper or computer screen. Also, your partner can point using mouse or your hands, or even you can draw on top of a remote image by using a color markers. So this is one of the efforts how to break the barrier between computers and the physical world. Also incorporate body into the interactions. So after that, I try to remove another seam, means seam between talking heads and the shared documents. If you can imagine Skype and the Google Doc, it totally separate windows. You have no idea where your partner is looking at. So in 1992, we presented this system called ClearBoard. This is the first generation called ClearBoard 1. The next one is ClearBoard 2, which is using a computer drawing. So let me show the quick video.
In order to integrate the shared workspace and the interpersonal
So this is a
spaces,
simple mock-up of simple glass board through which you can see and draw together. The next generation is a remote collaboration version using video reversing, so you can really have a common orientation of right on left. One of the most important things, you can see the gaze very clearly, gaze of your remote partners very clearly, so that you can know which portion your partner is looking at or having an interest. So this gaze awareness is something important. Today, Skype and the Google Doc, you have no idea where your partner is actually gazing at. So in some sense, the beam of the gaze travels through straight without any distractions. So this seamless media design was inspired by many research, including a video draw by John Tang, Scott Millemans. Also, Xerox PARC had a very great project, collab meeting technologies. Mark Steck is one of the lead, and I learned a lot from those ideas. Also, my hero, Douglas Engelbart, this historical demonstration also inspired me. So, 1994, I had a chance to give a talk in Atlanta at the Vanguard conference. I got the email from Alan Kay. He asked me to come to talk. Then right after talk, Alan Kay and Nicolas Negroponte, who were both advisory board members, asked me to come to MIT. So basically, I was headhunted in 1994. Next year, 1995, I decided to move to MIT from Japan. But one of the conditions of the hiring is do not continue any work I've done before. I've done team workstation, ClearBoard, and a lot of papers. Many people know me in CSCW community. But he requested me to reboot, start something brand new from scratch. That's very risky advice for untenured professor, but I took it very seriously. So I moved from NTT to MIT Media in 1995. So this is the first IMK buildings, E15. Then recently we moved to the new building, E14, designed by Michiko Maki. So, however, rebooting is something very, very challenging. How to really find the new ideas, new directions. if you do anything incremental, I can survive. So this is a strategy. So I try to understand what is the mainstream in 1995. Basically, graphical user interface, pixel empire. You can see intangible, visual, remote control like this one, single users, and also general purpose. So I decided to see opposite directions. Opposite means tangible, direct manipulation, multi-user, and also special purpose. So as a metaphorically, it's like a searching in the night sky, shedding the searchlight of these vectors to see something like a blimp appear. And finally, we found it. That was a tangible. So in 1995, I founded the research group of tangible medias. And the purpose, very simply, make digital tangible. Today, digital is intangible because still pixel is the main representation. So we try to invent new tangible and also embodied interaction that inspire and engage people. So this is one of the first photos of Tangibil's project, and you can see the computers I have in my hand. So this abacus became one of the important symbols. How many people can compute using abacus? Nobody? Anybody from Asia? Okay, interesting. These are backup computers, but the beauty of this machine is no silicon chip, no black box. Everything is exposed, transparent. So information, in this case digits, are represented as beads, which you can directly touch and manipulate. So it's tangible. And also you can, if you grab this one, become a musical instrument, toy train, or you can scratch your back without reading any document written by Google engineer or Apple engineer, because this is transparent and simple. So this is called affordance. J.J. Gibson's term, but affordance provides you what you can do with it, with simple mechanical structure. So this transparency and simplicity are completely missing in current digital world because of the black box, silicon chip. Even you're staring at silicon chip, you can't really decode how computing is happening because it's not human readable. So this is a introduction I wrote 25 years ago. Where the sea meets the land, life has blossomed into myriad unique forms in the turbulence of water, sun, and wind. At another seashore between the land of atoms and the sea of bits, we are now facing the challenge of reconciling our dual senses in the physical and digital world. So this doesn't change still after 25 years ago. Our visual and auditory sense organs are steeped in the sea of digital informations, but our bodies remain in the physical world. Windows to the digital world are confined to flat, square, limited screens filled with pixels or painted bits. So unfortunately, we cannot really feel and confirm the virtual existence of digital information through our hands and also body. So that's the motivation I started this Tangible project. Malcolm McLaren wrote a very good book called Abstracting Craft, in which he mentioned that the eyes are in charge. So your eyes are busy. Now you're looking at the screen. You see a lot of the pixels, photons hit your retina. You absorb the information, but passively. But if you really want to express something as an architect or a sculptor or dancer or pianist, you have to use the hands, the body, play piano, dance, choreograph, or sketch, or physical mock-ups. So how to bring hands to the main equation is one of the key reasons we are very much interested about tangibilities. Also, we learned so much from historical scientific instruments museums. I'm sure in Europe there are many, many great museums which captures great educational tools which once used in the class, but now everything replaced by the computers, pixels, digital informations. But the orally is something very, very my favorite one, because orally has very important interface with our body. So this handle. So by grabbing this handle and rotating this handle, you see that the movement of the planets around the sun is completely in sync with your kinesthesia, your body's muscles, bone, and neural system firing up. So there's no ambiguity about the causality chain. Why eclipse happens? Why four seasons exist? So this tight coupling, engagement of human and information is impossible in current digital world because decoupling of the body and the pixel world. Also, this real 3D. So, computer graphics. I know many people researching computer graphics, but 3D CG is a fake on 2D screen from one person's point of view. Or you may wear HMD, then you lose most important thing is the gaze of other people. So current 3D is a big compromise, but this real physical stuff is real 3D. You can clearly see where your advisor or student are looking at or pointing to. So I think this richness is something very, very important, which I care. So three things I really care is tangible, aesthetic, and also interactive. The reason simply to engage people, also inspire people. This interactivity is something very, very critical. How many people studying interaction design? Good. Design has many stuff, fashion design, architecture design, product design. But the interaction design is something very, very important, how to engage people in the loop. So 1997, I published the first paper after I moved to MIT. It's called Tangibits. This is a vision paper which sets the base of my ideas of the tangible world. But this paper was on the verge of the rejections because it's very controversial, because it's an expression of my dream, but kind of not grounded. So it's kind of half crazy. Paper was almost rejected, but fortunately, Mark Weiser was on the reviewing committee, and he saved my papers from rejections. Also, Jim Horan, he's a UCSA professor. So with those people, this paper was fortunately accepted. Otherwise, I'm not here today. Also, tangible interface didn't exist today. But Mark Weiser, he's my real hero, sent me quite amazing emails in 1997 after he reviewed my papers. I recently had a chance to read your Kai 97 paper, 100 bits. Great work. In my opinion, this is the kind of the work that will characterize the technological landscape in the 21st century. This is nice. The next surprise, I do have a request. My request is that you help me stop the spread of misunderstanding of ubiquitous computing based simply on its name. How many people know ubiquitous computing? Good. This is very fundamentally important visions that Mark Weiser demonstrated. But the last sentence is something so striking. 100 bits is very nice and maybe could serve as overall umbrellas. But then you might lose it as name of your research project. This is something, one of the best encouraging message I got in my early stage of career. So I really cannot thank enough to Mark. So his ubiquitous computing is one of the important grants that 100 bits, but also digital desk, Pierre Werner is something very important project. Also dangling string done by artist Natalie Jemis-Jankos, being invited by Mark Weiser as a visiting artist in Xerox PARC. So those are projects which inspired me. Also, Dylan Bishop, who graduated from RCA, did a marble answering machine, physically embodied voice message. That's another important source of inspiration. And Dr. George Fitzmaurice, who I worked with him for his PhD at University of Toronto in 1992. So that is another very important project to give a physical handle to digital information. You can directly grasp it. So if you're interested, you can read all these kind of papers, but you can find all the differences. So Tangibits is simply physical embodiment of information and computation that people can directly manipulate and grasp. To start something new in my world, originality is something most important. Means you have to clearly distinguish your idea from prior work. But just being different is not enough. There must be the jump of the value. So graphical user interface, intangible representation means pixel, and the generic remote control, like a mouse, keyboard, or touch screen. Tangible, you represent information physically, so it's inviting people to grab directly. So boundary between representation and controller become blurred. So if you see this one, now you can see that in this tangible interface, representation also becomes physical, so you can directly grab it. GUI, clear separation, pixel screen versus remote control, it's totally different entity. So this is one picture which summarizes my battle against Pixel Empire in the past 30 years. In the left, you can see the iceberg under the waters. This is the current state. Information is behind the screen. You can't feel, you can't touch, you can't manipulate. So we try to push the iceberg under the water, above water, to the physical world through tangibles. So now you can touch, grasp, manipulate. However, the physical part is completely frozen, inert, passive. So if computation dynamically continues, but the shape, materiality of physical part can't change, that sucks. That's the reason I decided to hack materials. To materials also become dynamic. That's radicalism. So let me start from tangibles. This is a physical embodiment. But first, we focus about the two things: foreground interaction with graspable materials, also background awareness using ambient media. So these are projects that I'd like to focus on to the center and the periphery. I'm not giving a lecture, so you're focusing to my talk unless you're sleeping. So grasping, manipulating objects in a foreground is something very, very important things to focus. But also background, you can get a lot of information. All of a sudden, rain starts or become dark. Then you know the time passing, for example, or sounds from the kitchen material, or it's the time of the dinner. So being aware of the bits at the periphery is something important aspect which people have not yet addressed so much. So we did a meta desk for urban planning for using the foreground and the hands. But also the background, we try to change architectural space to the interface between people and digital information. Let me show one example of the pinwheel. It's ambient media. So how to turn architectural space into the interface is the key. So now you can see the pinwheel spinning. These pinwheels are spinning by the wind, digital wind from a solar system. It's a solar wind. So ionized particle flying from sun to the earth spin these pinwheels. So you can feel the breathing, heartbeat of the sun at architectural space. But still you can still talking to other people, doing the email. At the periphery, you feel the wind is blowing. So this is an example using a wind as a metaphor at ambient way. Also, there are many ways to make a foreground tangible interaction. This is one of the classic pieces called the music bottles. I had a dream to give a present to my mom, who used to live in Sapporo City in Japan, north part Japan. And when she wakes up, she wants to check the weather forecast of the day, sitting in front of TV. But instead of using TV, I want her to open these blue bottles when she wakes up. So today's a fine day. So she never touched any computers or smartphone in her life. But she knows opening purchase bottles release the smell of the soy sauce. So how to design the access to digital world using this warm metaphor in the kitchen was my dream. But she passed away in 1998. That's the reason I created this one as a tribute for her, putting a music. Then next year, I lost my good friend, Mark Weiser. He passed away. So I wrote this paper, Bottles as tribute to Mark Weiser as a transparent interface. Because his vision of the ubiquitous computing is how to make technology invisible, transparent, and move into the everyday fabric of the physical world. So we've done a lot of the project, but important thing is what's the guiding principle, what's the philosophy, ontology, principle behind those projects. One of the important principles is coincidence of input and output space. Here this abacus, there's no separation, input, output. This is input, output, memory, computation, everything united into one. So how to achieve this simplicity is one of the key. So in the left, you see the InTouch. So this is a remote communication device. If you roll 3 rollers, it's also sync with the remote one. So you can communicate using a sense of touch. So middle one is called a carrybot. You can teach how to move. Then it's replay again and again. It's a physical embodiment of the logo language that the Seymour Papert invented. It's called turtle graphics. And last one is called the topable. This is a constructive assembly. You can combine a lot of the components, passive and active, to construct robot in a bottom-up way. But by also moving, teaching how to move, it remember all the kinetic motion, record, and replay. So this is a new way to design the robot in the programming by example. But all these projects have a common theme. Is basically you can directly grab, manipulate, and input. Then also actuate it to display their computation. Another important series of projects is a tabletop tangible user interface. Because surface, like a table, is very, very important as an interface to the digital world. So this is an early project that Dr. John Undercroft did for PhD called UP. So now you can see the urban planning table. But if you put the physical model, wireframe 3D models, then it casts a shadow. This shadow is a digital shadows, and the actual computational calculated shadow. It's not the optical ones. And also you can also control this one. So now change of time. I'm moving the time. Then shadow sweeps the ground. But also you can make a change the surface, the glass. Then you can also see the reflection of the lights. And also you can simulate the wind. How many people are architects? Urban planner? Mickey? We love Navier-Stokes equations. Fluid dynamics is so beautiful. So this is basically, if you move the building, the boundary condition change. Then let machine recompute under the table, then reflect. So this is very different from showing the beautiful animation, video, as a developer to the people living in a city or government. But here people can ask questions. What would happen if buildings more closer to the highway or even taller? How to democratize this interaction using a transparent simulation is one of our goals, using tangibility. This was actually also used in the class of urban planning at MIT. Now you can see that the Department of Urban Study and Planning students using this app system for class project. So integrating physical models, 2D drawing, also computer simulation together into one space, you can have much more rich, informed discussions. Usually, design critique, everything separated, computer projection, and drawing on the wall, and the physical object on the tabletop surface. So, scale models of the computer, architecture model, is something kind of obvious. It's very nice to use the tangible. But also, you can apply this stuff to more abstract computational methods. So, we try to apply tangible interface for event-driven simulation, system dynamics, any computational model which has a graph structure, node and a link. So putting a pack, physical pack to the node, allow people controls, increasing the traffic or increasing the computer network bandwidth or capacity of the memory. You can clearly see how performance would change in real time using 2 hands, also multiple users. So this CISO project convinced us that the tangible interface can be also applicable to the very abstract computational models. Maybe most interesting project of the computational stuff is the music. How many people play electric computer music? How many people go to the concert of the electric music? Good. We love those music, but one problem is often from a distance, musicians bring notebook computer like this one. You have no idea what's happening. He or she might be just hit the play buttons or doing the email. But if you go to the jazz concert, you can clearly see the professional musicians and the acoustic instruments interacting, then resulting sound. So causality is very clear. How to communicate the causality is something very important to engage the audience. So this is audio class, James Clark and Brendan. You can see physical items on the table. That's the microphone. This comes from the because everything shows the music as well. It can be controlled. How do you make music first, motion of the body, physical movement, then projecting things up to the wall. You can understand what's happening now. It's different from last video projection, like video documentary. So this system inspired many people. We presented the 9 new instruments for musical expression. Then team in Barcelona, Sergi drove us pick up this one to next level called React Table. How many people know React Table? Great. This is a great commercial success, and many famous musicians are using on the stage, which we are very happy to see. Also, tabletop interface is very, very interesting. So we did this project called Ping Pong Plus in end of 1990. How many people play ping pong? How many people play seriously? Oh, okay, good. We are very serious. So here you can see a lot of the fishes swimming, so like a fish pond, which change the way to interact. Here you see every time ball hits a net, which also creates a comets. And the last one, if you continue rally, which develops a thunderstorm, like a reward. So ping pong is usually a harsh game to make the opponent make a mistake to get a point. It's a zero-sum game. But I want to make a game which is much fun, also for the audience watching another table. So these are examples how to augment the interactive surface. Mark Weiser talked about ubiquitous computing, in which he talked about the importance of invisible computing. And he said that computing should be invisible. But I argue that if everything becomes invisible, we may be out of business. When we play ping pong, it's very important the ball must be visible. And also the racket, paddle, should disappear because part of the body at the periphery. However, table, your partner playing against, should be visible. So most important things, what should be visible? So what should be in the foreground? What should go to background? Dynamically change because we are juggling so many balls simultaneously. So I think how to design the environment in which important entity can move smoothly, seamlessly between foreground and background, visible and almost invisible, seems the important key. So that's another lesson of the ping pong. We are also very much interested about actuation. Now you can see array of the magnets which moving pack around on the tables. So this can also apply for the remote collaborations. Imagine from Prague, we are collaborating with a colleague in London. So this is a optimization of the spatial arrangement of cellular phone tower. Computer can compute all the simulation. Then if people grab same tower, now you can see, they feel the force of the other people pushing to the other direction. So this opens up interpersonal haptic communication channels, a bit like InTouch. And also you can do a lot of the interesting stuff. So here in the right side, you can see Pico. This is a optimization of cellular phone camera arrangement, but you can intercept the movement of this object, like insects. Then you can make two towers can get closer than certain like a distance. Or this is more complex relationship. You can't go far away. It's a bit like a more human relationship. And you can also make a combination. Don't come too close, but don't go too far away. So these things does not require PhD in the computer science. So last part is acceleration. If you want to give more CPU resource into certain area, you can use dish soap, then become more slippery. So you can give more computation power than other parts, because the other part has a friction. So this is totally different dimension of tangible computing, which open up the new way, improvisational interruption. Usually you have to read source code to Emacs, edit, recompile, bind, then execute. But now, while you are executing the computation, you can intervene. So 2.5D is another important challenge, how to go 2D to 2.5D. So this is eliminating clear and soundscape, which allow people to sculpt 2.5D landscape. This is for landscape design. Now you can see that this is architectonic exhibition, but sculpting sand. Now you see the vector. This is a water drainage, and color shows the speed, which implies erosion. So now, while giving a shape, form, you can also do the computational analysis together. That's something very important aspect. So one of the challenge as a designer or engineer is divide between digital world and the physical world. Everybody knows both has own advantage and disadvantage. But the problem is they're not compatible. Once you go from physical world to digital world, it's very difficult to regain the benefit of physicality. So one of our dreams to invent new materials which multiple inheritance from two classes, physical and digital. So this eliminating clear and soundscape is a very small but important step for us towards these new materials, which is multiple inheritance. For form giving, you can use all the dexterity you develop in the sandbox when you were kids. And you can also apply analysis to the shape because it's captured by computer in real time. So you don't need to go back and forth. So how to invent new design media which allow people to go smoothly to different world is one of my dreams. We also developed a lot of tangible interface, and also many papers got rejected. It's very tough to get accepted because many stuff is kind of a bit crazy. But let me show one of the popular tools called IRI. Nature as a new ink. So this is in the left side you see that from where this ink came from. You can see teddy bear constantly capturing as a camera, so you can clearly tell where the origin of this color came from. But more importantly, this simulate inspire the most creative people, like this girl.
Look at
So she didn't listen to me or Kimiko Ryokai. She's the inventor. She's the collector in UC Berkeley. But she came up with her own interpretation. And so she's so proud about this discovery. So it's the best moment, most rewarding moment as an interaction designer. So Kimiko's PhD thesis title is The World as a Palette. It means once you interact with airbrush, you never see the world as you saw before. You can't stop dreaming what kind of new art piece you can create from beautiful scenery. For example, in the Prague, amazing architecture, so many great crafts and art pieces were color of sky. So these all inspire people to challenge what kind of the art piece, impression of the Prague you can paint using this stuff. So stimulating, inspiring people's imagination or creative mind is something most valuable things we can do it. We take a museum exhibition very seriously, and today my colleagues kindly show me around the amazing museum and the galleries in Prague. And this is the first big exhibition we did in year 2000 at NTT ICC in Tokyo. So there we showed series of the project we've been doing in a Tanjiro Bits project. But also we went to the Ars Electronica to continue those exhibitions for 3 years. Title was Getting in Touch. Gerfried Stocker, director, gave me the great opportunity to showcase all these projects. So that really helps us to talk to the kids, architects, designers, scientists, also a lot of the philosophers in Europe, which I really appreciate because the very critical thinking really shapes our thinking. So radical atoms, we realize the physical part of the tangible bits is frozen and it doesn't dynamically change, which is very difficult to synchronize under the water, dynamic computational state and the physical state. So today we have two materials you guys can use. One is frozen atoms, like these materials, this table, chair, ceiling, floor, plastic, glass. These are no digital guts or consciousness. Second, intangible pixel stuck in a 2D screen, which you can touch unless you have a remote controls. So these are the two main materials. So our dream is to create third materials which called radical atoms. That is physical and computational and dynamic. So which conform and transform and inform. So these are kind of the crazy vision that we came up 10 years ago, more than 10 years ago. And also there's a lot of source of inspiration. One is Florence Matters, presented in 1991. Also many reconfigured dynamic robotics inspired me. How many people do robotics? Robotics is very hot. And also the shape display has a history. Physics by Dr. Iwata is one of the pioneering work. But the radical atoms are very abstract concept and the vision, which is very difficult to communicate in the scientific community. But we're very excited that Ars Electronica picked up this as an umbrella, overall arching umbrellas of the entire festival, which attract 30,000 people, a bunch of the artists. But Gerfried Stocker, he's the director, came up with a really nice subtitle, The Alchemist Over Time. You know alchemist, who creates the gold or whatever you like. So let's become an alchemist to create new materials for artistic expression. So inventing new materials for design, communication, and artistic expression has been always our dream. And also good things we can bring all my students together, setting up, debugging, installing, but also we got a lot of the amazing feedback through the other people. Now you can see a lot of projects which are going to introduce soon. So through exhibiting those pieces, the feedback we learn is very different from which we can learn in class or school or even academic scientific community. So that's I really believe exhibiting, showcasing those work to the public or media art or interactive community really helped me. So hope you can also find, in addition to your academic community, you can also find other venues which sheds a new light, point of view, to crystallize your idea. How many people went to Ars Electronica? Okay, that's so many. It's not so far from, it's a Linz, Austria. So hope you have a chance to go there. Then you see all the creative ideas and the people's having a really interesting festival. Basically, at the boundary of technology, art, and the society, this is one of the best events. Also, we continue to develop a lot of the new radical atoms. And then we first published a paper in the intellectual magazines about the basic ideas. But at that time, we didn't have so much good working prototype. So we made this speculative design videos about the perfect level. You guys know state memory alloy. It's a famous actuator kind of wire. So why can't we make a state memory clay? So this clay has a knowledge of perfect sphere or cube or whatever. Then by manipulating, which grid or snap into the canonical form, which this clay knows. Basically, it's a challenge to the any design. You can use all the 3D graphics, but how we can do all this interesting operation like a root or repetition is one of the ideas. But frankly speaking, we don't know how to implement. We can't implement today. But these visions and dreams, how people may interact with the future play, made of running others. So this is speculative design. You do not need to fully implement everything, but you can still simulate, emulate how the future will be. By the way, the girl in the center is my daughter, Lina. Bounded arts and science is like academic programs that we are doing the research. Media and science is our department. So between the art and science, a lot of interesting things happen. So Dr. Xiao Xiao created this piece called Mirror Field. One day she saw her reflection on the piano. Then she came up with the idea, why can't I live in the piano forever? Then play with anybody in front of her. So now you see the keys moving, also in presence of the pianist pushing the key. And one of the key ideas, cross generations. This is my daughter Alisa, but playing the role of young Xiao Xiao. So now Dr. Xiao Xiao, she got a PhD, is now playing the piano together with young Xiao Xiao. So imagine your grandma was a concert pianist, but she's gone. We can invite her back to piano in the anniversary day. Then she can play with her grandchildren. So that is our dream. We continue the development of variety of the radical atoms, especially shape display. These are big genres. So how to make a dynamic movement of the material is a key. So this is a recent work by Ken Nakaki, who is a PhD candidate, who did a line form, also chain form, focusing on a simple one-dimensional structure like a rope or string. Using a robotics, you can really make dynamic shape changing or interaction, also embedding sensors and actuators. So these are examples of the approach. But 2.5D shape display is something more interesting for us. And you can see in the left side, rendering used to be visualized in 3D form in the computer screen. But now you can also physically manifest it. Then you can interact with one. See the erosion or mountain view or direct discussion in hand or mid-air gesture. So what we're doing is using invention of this presentation like a Second, invention of new interaction technique with these materials. How to communicate with these materials is the second thing. Then Daniel Leitzinger, Sean Farmer, and our team created Inform, having a 1,000 engine, which quite a tough engineering work. But finally, we came up interesting application of digital television. How many people saw this video in the past? Also, good. So being here, plus, also being in Boston, our brain television. This is a new form of television. That's a teleconference. So we have digital like a limited. We can extend the body and manipulate the whole about this time. So you can do computer design, of course, design. Test a lot of idea. So this went to the Super Huge Design Museum in New York in 2014. So this is a new version. And this also went to Ars Electronica around 3 years. It's very much worn out, but we keep repairing. So this was actually used by many, many people, especially kids, really enjoy this telepresence stuff. But also while doing this kind of scientific work exhibition, already exploring the meaning as a material to represent the artistic concept. So this is an homage, MC Extra. You guys know MC Extra? Great. We love him. And so you can see all the different movements in the corporate maze. So combine these three engines of Inform, we went to the next level called Transform. Try to make a kinetic triptych. So we learn a lot from a world of the art and the grammar. So this is a Transform that we designed. Then we went to the Milan Design Week. Let me show the video. So this is like a new material. You can tell a story. You can tell a story. But now you can see the red ball dancing. This red ball all passive materials, no computational concepts. But the white team and the magic atoms, fully computational. And they are dancing. Also, we are interested about the storytelling. Today, people make computer animations. So in Hollywood, you make an amazing movie using digital effects. But we be future, digital space become a theater, future a story. It's the story of the ancient civilization, empire, ink, waiting for Picasso, Gough, Matisse. Would you like to be? So, if you invent the new materials, you can do the fast artistic expression or experimentation. That's something very, very exciting. I think that transdisciplinary is something so important, and Czech Technical University is great. Also, so many great other art school, art university, also diverse disciplines. So, finding opportunity in conflict between disciplines, breaking down old paradigms to create new archetypes, is a very important principle. So, in this project, we try to make collisions of design and technology, stillness and motions, and also atoms and bits. So always at boundary, there are interesting opportunity to create something new. And this project is also very well received, and we got a lot of nice awards, and all the students got a PhD, then became a professors. But the people start asking, so what, who care? Because it's too artistic, too conceptual. To translate those ideas to the people who are more pragmatic, who care about the tomorrow, we have to translate. Then my students developed this video to communicate how radicalism may change the day-to-day interaction with physical environment, so that context aware is back, but material can sense what's going on. Then they have augment. We never gamble, but hypothetically, gamble, we can do all sorts of stuff. So these are also speculations, video prototypes about the future, which do not necessarily know how or not. But technically, it's feasible. You can implement. So another aspect is materials. These are metamaterials. You know, material has a flexibilities, also elasticity, and the viscosity. Now you can tweak all these parameters. Then you can experience by touching, pushing. Then haptic tactile interaction, but also you hear the sound. Also vibration of this pin comes through the ground, so that you go through your body. So it's a real sensation, which pixel never even come closer. So this is one of the domains that tangible radical atoms really show the value. So I chose a shape display, which starting from the shape change, direct manipulation, also physical presence, intermaterials interaction, dynamic affordance, then material property, emulation. So a lot of interesting possibility. So once we create new materials, which also open door to a lot of interesting rich areas. So another stream of the radical atoms is called porous materials. We're interested about soft, organic, sometimes biological materials. How we can use those materials as a means to make interesting shape change. This is a series of the work starting in Nui, Jamshid, like a pneumatic shape change, or jamming to changing stiffness tuning, and also biologic, also aeromorph, and also kinetics, and also CDF, which I talk later. Also like a last one, textile, knitting, weaving, all the like shape changing or sensing materials. So you can make a very interesting new fabric. So here is something very important materials in the natures. So we created the Syria GFA project is inventing a 50 micron thin hair. You can 3D printing. Then that become a nice adhesive. Also you can sense based on the sound. Also this become interesting actuator by vibrating. By vibrating you can make things like a yellow part has a hair inside. Then you can make cylinders rotate or move. So this is a transformation of the vibration of the so inert object on top of the cilia can be moved. This is a bit more artistic example, but playing the music of Lake of Swan or the ballerina spin because of the vibration of the music is driving them to spin because the cilia is on the bottom. But the interesting thing is this can be have a lot of implication, not only the engineering but also design. So this is a fur or feather that we are now printing. So we just started the design exhibition in the Cooper Hill Design Museum, also Cube Museum in Netherlands, using a first dress which is designed by Erin Robertson in collaboration with GFAO. Then this dress is now kind of the new, interesting, exciting challenge to create new texture. You can control very precisely all the tactile experiences of this material. So this is one of the new pieces. So nature has a lot of interesting shape-changing materials, hygromorphic shape-changing materials, like a pine cone. So we study which one we can use it. Then we pick up centers. You can see Bacillus subtilis natto. It's a fermented food bacteria. Who like natto? Okay. Anyway, I like natto. So we use natto bacteria as a relative humidity sensor and actuator. So let me show biology. So we cultivate this bacteria in chemical engineering laboratories at MIT. So this is an observation from atomic force microscope to measure the performance of the bacteria to publish paper in science advances. And solution which include bunch of the bacteria, how much bacteria we should treat where on the garden, requires very precise computer simulations and fabrication technique. So physiology informs us about how much airflow should happen on her back. To do so, we have to understand her but the skin is breathing without any battery or Arduinos or any computer stuff. Everything is self-contained. So we believe bio is becoming a new interface between you and environment without electronic battery or computations. So how to communicate those scientific work or design work to the public is always an important challenge. So we did a small exhibition when we celebrate 30th anniversary of MIT Media Labs in 2015. Now you can see all the films on the biology is changing shape by steam. So here you see that what nature gave us is a bacteria for fermenting food. Then the symbol of the human body. This molecule is protein. It's natural excitement. didn't write any science paper by this phrase, but we are very excited. And we are fortunate to getting many awards for this project. For example, linear laptop is now rising star in the CMU, Carnegie Mellon University, running morphing matter laboratories. So my dream is I want to let materials grow rather than build, as you saw in the project. Also, I want to see materials dance so that become very dynamic from frozen state. So let me show the latest project to make liquid dance. This is Udaya Umaba's master thesis of sperm droplets. This has tremendous potential application to medical, pharmaceutical, chemical industry in which people have to deal with liquid for many different purposes. But currently that requires specialized machine, super expensive machine. But this electronic technology-based platform enables the liquid to move very precisely, margin or shaking. But I came up with a crazy idea, the Bangkok palette. If you see the beautiful scenery, how palette can create all the color patterns for the painters, for my kids. So this is a watercolor painting. But having a camera, computer vision, analysis of this technology, you can create all the ink which you can paint with that. So this is one example. Also another dream is levitate. So anti-gravity is something my dream for many years. So this is a zero project done by Gina Lee, also Lenny Font. So this zero, the new materials you can put in the air. They stay there. Second, computer knows exact location. Number three, computer can move it. So using this zero, this becomes a new material to communicate you and the digital world through physical space. And you can make a furniture using zero. Then you can have things above your head. So this is also a way to stimulate, inspire people to think differently. This may have not have any direct applications today, but the important thing is defy gravity. Many people accept gravity without asking why I have to accept, why I have to obey, why I have to follow this constraint. There's so many constraints, but if you are a designer of interstellar spaceship travel, then gravity is not anymore there, which also creates new problems. So don't take it for granted, any constraints or limitation, but ask fundamental question, why this limitation exists, why I have to accept it, what would happen if it defies the gravity. That's an important message. So my team does two things, simply invent and inspire. Invention could be the concepts, artistic idea, or technical breakthrough, or scientific stuff. But equally important things inspire how to communicate to other people through the form of scientific paper, patents, design exhibition, or art exhibition. So I think to inspire, we believe that two important things is be artistic and analytic. Also be poetic and pragmatic. Each people have to have all these aspects. That's a strong belief. And art and sciences is quite a large space. But the important thing is art, science, technology, design has different value system, different purpose, different goal. So that we have to always go through these spirals constantly. I also ask people, don't put a label, say, I'm artist or designer, engineer. Then we are half dead. You have to speak all the language, fluently move around. Then coming up with the idea, concept, which was for translating in any 4 dimensions. So real-time translation is a key. Also translatable deep idea is something key. The left part, do you know from where this picture, spiral stairs, came from? Hint, Barcelona, Gaudi, Sagrada Familias. So right side is my favorite Bruegel's painting of the Towers of Babel. So we think we have to speak all the language very fluently, but also enjoy translating across different value systems. Then crystallize the idea towards the z-axis is something very important practice we've been doing and encouraging people to do it more. So today I studied the seamless media design. I studied before MIT at NTT Japan, talking about how to remove seam between people, distance, or media. Then I started talking about tangible bits, why I started tangible bits. And also talked why I have to move up to radical atoms to solve the inconsistency, asynchrony between physical state and the digital state. So what's next is a really good question. So you may invite me back in 10 years. So this is a message that Alan Kay and a few other people said, but the future is not to predict, but embed. It's a very powerful way. Create something very exciting, inspire people, then people love it, people choose it. Then it could become mainstream. So it's not a marketing or analysis or prediction of the weather. You can really create open door. To do so, I do believe vision is something most important. Because we know technology, but technology gets obsolete in 1 year. All the machine you're using every day got landfill in 3 years because obsolescence is already embedded in the design, even it's usable, unfortunately. Also, needs constantly change. People love music, but LP, CD, MP3, constantly changing. But the real vision, like a Doug Engelbart vision of collective intelligence or Mark Weiser's ubiquitous computing, never stop inspiring us beyond our lifespan. So vision is something important, but we have to always envision and also embody and inspire. To do so, middle for envisionment, of course, it's very important to speak design, science, technology, obviously. But for envisionment, often art will inspire to allow us to ask radical new questions or new point of view, so that also to inspire the art really taught us so much why people cry or laugh seeing the artistic pieces. So we strive to push the boundary by envisioning futures, embodying original ideas, and inspiring people around the world. So that is stuff we're doing. So how many people can read Chinese characters in the audience? Interesting, not so many people from Asia. It's kind of interesting. Yeah, MIT bunch of Asian people, a lot of people China. And so these are 9 characters I summarized. These are ideographic characters. But basically this represents 3 driving forces for the creator or young researchers. First, stand out. Second, blaze a trail. Third, build the mountains. It's 1D, 2D, 3D. Let me explain what do you mean. The nail that sticks out gets hammered down. Stick out far enough that no hammer can reach you. Stand out among the crowd. It's very important when you're young. Nobody may understand or appreciate your crazy ideas, but you have to believe yourself. Keep sticking out. Otherwise, you can survive. But once a bit more senior, you are the leader. You have to really blaze the trails. So there's no road laid out before me. I charge forward, and the road emerges behind me. Neither spectator nor referees or stopwatch exist here. So don't believe quantitative a prediction of the outcomes. If you already know how many products you can sell, it's already over. Important challenge, you have no ideas, no such thing like a stopwatch referee. So no jury, no judge who really understands your new pioneering work. So that's very tough, but I hope you can enjoy this kind of loneliness of blazing a trail. So when I headhunted in 1994, I thought the reason I go to MIT is like climbing up mountains. Although peak was hidden by the clouds, no roadmap, no path to leading the top. That's what I believed. And it was completely wrong. I was so stupid. Later I learned there's no such thing like a mountain to climb. I was supposed to create the mountain from ground zero, then conquer the summit first in the world, then let other people follow to these mountains. So that is a last message, building the mountains, especially for the faculty, junior faculty. What's your mountains? What your summit looks like? How do you really build? That's the questions I want to share with you. So I want to thank you today. It's a great honor and a pleasure that so many people listening to me. And I have a next plan. I go different space soon. And altogether, 2,100. Sorry for that, but the realities. And I've been thinking about what is the future for which we are responsible. It's not our retirement or the end of life, but the people living in the future, say 2,200. So I'm asking myself, my colleagues, my students, what do you want to pass on to those living in 2,200? How do you want to be remembered? What do you want your legacy to be? That's very important questions. You're not doing the work just for next quarters, or just hunch and hunt. What is the long-lasting impact you are going to make? So 2,200 is a kind of symbol to talk about future. Because life has set the end point, but the future is never ending. For that future, we are responsible for. We love technology and hate technology, but technology soon become obsolete, go to landfill. But the true vision is everlasting. So with this number 2,200, I want to end my lecture. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Thank you. Thank you. So, any question, comment, or critique? Also, if you're shy, you can also send me the tweet or Facebook. But I want to hear from you guys. Tell me who you are, also which department, also the people's. Does anybody can give the microphone, or should I run, or do you shout? What's the best? Okay. Oh, there's one person. Also, who next? Don't be shy. Maybe if you can come to the front, it might be more easier.
So, thank you for an inspiring talk.
My pleasure.
I am currently studying HCI with focus on virtual intelligence.
Oh, me too.
And I wanted to ask whether you feel that, or whether you foresee that there will be any kind of synergy between tangible media and and augmented reality. I think I'm very skeptical when it comes to implementation of haptics, because I don't think that we will get to a kind of a realistic point in the near future. However, I think that we could perhaps bring a couple of the interface design features onto AR products. What do you think of that?
I think you know my answer.
So you think that it's not possible?
I don't believe we are, based on the HMD, shutting off your eyes, ears, putting all the synthetic fake information, giving illusions as if you're doing stuff. Also giving incomplete haptic feedback, then giving illusion. But we human beings, through the evolution, we developed very keen sense. We know it's fake. It's not real. It's not true. It's not something we can trust or count on. So that I'm amazing. So many great people doing VR stuff and putting a lot of energy. But that's not the future I want to see. That's the reason we went opposite, radical atoms. But one day I got a really great comments that perfect virtual reality with haptic feedback and complete radical atoms are indistinguishable. We might be aiming at the same like a dream, but totally different approach. I want to keep my eyes open and ears. I want to feel using my hands rather than using a strange apparatus which shut off and emulate.
So you think that it's not worth it to pursue this kind of goal on the other?
Don't take me wrong. I'm just talking about my position because I want to make original contributions. I know VR, also AI, so many winters and the spring and the coming back. I know all the pioneers. I have a strong admiration, all the effort. But I have only 20 years left before I die. I have to really focus on what I can do uniquely, contribute. I don't want to be incremental. Also, big company need jumping on, so that amazing momentums, Microsoft on the Facebook, for example. So why I have to jump in? I want to graze new trail. I want to build different mountains. Then let people to think differently by juxtaposing. That's my intellectual academic contribution. But you're welcome to believe VR, putting HMD all day. And then,
thank you. Thank you for the inspiration.
Yeah, thank you. Important thing is be constructively critical is important.
Yep. Hello, I would like to maybe comment on this question.
Yes.
Maybe your answer. I'm always surprised when people speak about VR or AR, how they are trying to somehow simulate the reality, and they kind of forget that maybe you can not simulate reality, but create something new, which is not possible in reality, and completely forgot what you have in reality, or forget how you want to create some real haptic feedback. Maybe you can create unreal haptic feedback and somehow expand your thinking in this direction. Can you comment or answer back something? Thank you.
I think we can do anything using technology. And VR or AR is very, very useful, certain domain. Like 20 years ago, Boeing engineer showed that the maintenance of the airplane, but the many cables are hidden behind also all the document. So seeing the real airplane parts, all the information is superimposed. This is so useful. Also when airplane was hijacked, the Navy or Army have to be trained how to really rescue the passenger. To do those simulations, VR is very, very powerful. However, for everyday life, talking, studying, communicating, I have a bit difficulty to think about VR dramatically change everything. So my question is two things. Can we and should we? Can we is technological questions. Basically, we can do almost anything. But should we is a more profound question. Something, do we really want that kind of future? Do you ethically that's really good things or not, for example? So I think from a should we point of view, I stay away from this extreme VR approach. But you can do it. Also, there's some practical, structured application domain in which this could be great benefit. But a bit exaggerating, as if this can change entire like a life, is something almost like a joke for me. Yeah. Hope I'm not, making you upset. But it's just my belief. Yeah. Yeah. The gentleman over there with a mustache.
Professor Ishii, thanks a lot for the inspiring talk. And I was wondering, what's the story behind the fact that you don't see body and mind as something that should be separated? So, for example, people like Stellar, they claim that body is obsolete.
Oh, Stellar?
Yeah, the Stellar, the guy with the ear in the arm who hangs himself and so on. So is that something that comes from your experiences or cultural background? What's the story behind this attitude towards body as something sacred?
We love Struck. We love all the hackers, artistic hackers to engage. You saw that inform, let the balls moving, but also you saw we brought the instruments. Then we can pick up the ball more easily using. So this is for us Struck mode. So instead of adding stuff, but also you can alter certain portion of the body in the remote space. So I think embodied interaction, how to really engage body, something important. But also we know, even adding third arms, you don't have controls because we evolved in the many millions of years. So we have no control nervous system. It's an ad hoc one. So how to make a natural extension, but also allowing alteration. So hand is very small, but if you make hand 10 times bigger, you can also grab more things. Also, I can also make another mirror hand appear, then grab it. So we can do a lot of interesting alteration of the remote part of your body. So Starak is our hero, and we'd like to push also this meaningful alterations of the body in the telepresence. Don't be shy. More hands. This is a flag. You guys have to. Are you awake? You can ask question any language: English, Japanese, Fortran, PL1, Algol, Pascal, C.
Hello. Thank you very much for your presentation. The last question got me to my question I'm having right now is, how would you describe human consciousness, and what do you think about merging of the consciousness into AI or into artificial intelligence? And do you think the boundary between the technological intelligence or the cloud or artificial intelligence and the human consciousness could decay and become one, or could not see the difference?
It's simple. Don't worry. This never happened. Singularity never happens. We know technology. We know what human being is. So rather than worrying about those kind of stuff, you should really focus on only you can do as a creators. Computers, very limited, done. So don't worry. Do the most creative work which human beings, especially only you can do it. Nobody can really compete against even other human beings. So that's an important goal you should focus on. Any other comments or suggestions or your opinions? Oh, okay. All the questions come from the guys, male. Also, I want to hear from other researchers, women, or whoever.
Hello again. I was wondering, you briefly commented on this, but where do you mark the difference between controller and between the element or the haptic or some switch you move around the screen you showed in some of those examples of music instruments where they moved with the some play.
Audio part?
Yeah. So where is the difference between the controller and this thing you just move around the screen and you somehow connect those things?
For example, computer music, there are a lot of the parameters. Parameter can be given physical entity, like a dial or knob, that you can control. But maybe more comprehensive example is microphone. I have a microphone. Based on the distance, I can change the volumes. So physically embodied icon called icon, blue pack, represent microphone. Then distance between source of the music and the microphone determines the controls. So this case, microphone icon is a representation of the microphone and also controller. So you see the fusion. But you can push more, like a soundscape, illuminating clay is more beautifully fused into just clay. You sculpt, then computation happens. So how to find the intersection of the representation control really give the benefit for the users or musician is one of the important questions we are working on. Who wants to go next?
Thank you for the talk. I was also interested if you have any kind of favorite tools you are using to create your installations, like software development frameworks, or things that some maybe new technologies and up and coming things that you came to? I don't know, there's frameworks like processing or open frameworks, touch designer, and those kind of tools. Do you use those in,
yes, of course,
in your things, or it's mostly like custom things? But, anyway.
We use, of course, all these amazing infrastructures, open framework and the processing. We use all of those. Also, like hardware, so many Raspberry Pi and Arduinos, and we really appreciate open source communities, even open source hardware. They really accelerate, because 25 years ago, building hardware controllers is tough, like a PIC chip, and we have to do everything from scratch. So we really benefit from all these tools. However, finding a concept or framework or application is a bit different dimensions. And so these tools are means, but never be the ends. So knowing what is the real end clearly, then choosing the best means combination is very, very important. But means constantly changing, so we have to constantly learn it. So that is tough. But we appreciate all the community developing, those are making those tools available. Means we are speeding up. Entire world is speeding up. So also you have to speed up. Otherwise, it's very difficult to catch up to that state of the art.
Thank you. Do you also develop some tools yourself and put it back into the community to maybe
yes.
Make it easier to replicate?
Yes, of course. However, but many of our work requires very special hardware. So bar is more higher. It's software you can download, then tweak it. But to do hardware, even have a instructable, people have to have some experience of electronics and mechanical engineering. It's quite complex. It's a robot, but also floor is going lower these days. Many construction kit. So we hope to contribute by democratizing those enabling technology. But at this stage, still no clear platform or a common ground. You see so many variations of applications because we're pushing an envelope of the large space. To do so, we cannot focus on the one single application like a shape display. We test also biological materials or pneumatic one, hydro stuff. So it takes some time, but your comment is very good.
Also, do you think that if there was some very good common protocol for all these sort of devices and interfaces to talk between each other, would it make it easier to integrate everything?
That's an interesting question. I don't know. Currently, still world of radicalism is expanding. So many different applications. Requirements is so different from application to application, like a resolution of the pin or translation, for example, or speed or force, like a force feedback. So still it's very difficult or too early to say, this is a common denominator. If you have this one, you can cover 90% of the application. We can't say so at this stage. So we are still, universe is expanding. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. How about any girls? So many boys, yeah. Don't be shy, please.
Hi.
Oh, thank you. What's your name?
I'm sorry.
What's your name?
Barbara.
Barbara, thank you. Thank you for asking.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, one of your projects was the ping pong table.
Yeah.
And I get...
Smile.
And it got me thinking, how much do you take in... How much do you think about the play in your design? How much do you think about just people moving around, having fun with your project? Or if do you perhaps have any other ideas in mind how to integrate more of the gameplay and things like that?
Thank you for these questions. It's very important. Do you know Randy Pausch? He was a CME professor. He passed away by cancer, but his last lecture was very famous. And he has been my great friend. And Randy always told me, Hiroshi, you're too serious. You have to play. Play is missing. So that's a part of the reasons we started Ping Pong Plus. So play is fundamentally important. Play engage people. Unless you engage people, they can't learn. They can't go deeper. So I think how to bring the playfulness is a real key. And I tend to be too serious, scientifically, technically, and or artistically. But I think fun, having fun, sharing the fun is something very, very important, which I also want to learn. My colleague, Professor Mitch Resnick, is developing a Scratch. Scratch is a great community. How many people use a Scratch? Yeah, Scratch really make a community which also people can share, creative, but also fun. So I think play is a very important keyword I have to keep in my mind because I tend to be too serious.
Thank you. Because that's also why I mentioned, because right now the VR and AR is so crucial in a gaming industry. So this is kind of the thing when I see the connection between your haptic designs and
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for asking. Any other girls? Or only boys? Okay. Or repeaters? Okay.
So I'm terribly sorry to, because I'm going to shift the discussion to VR again, slightly. But I wanted to ask whether you have any recommendations on how to approach prototyping when it comes to applications of spatial computing, because it's something that I kind of struggle with, because it's hard to kind of follow the basic HCI mindset of going from low fidelity prototypes to reality, because the interactions are much more complex than with WIMP interfaces.
Is that the question?
So, are there any ideas that you can share as to how to approach prototyping in spatial computing applications?
Okay. Prototyping is a means to test ideas. So what ideas, what's the purpose, goal of the ideas or research is most important. Spatial computing is also the field. Many things spatial, 3D, VR, but these are all means. So you have to need to articulate what is the goals, why you do research, for whom, and what kind of impact you want to make before you graduate or before we die. So if we can articulate very clearly, the answer becomes very clear.
Well, right now I'm working on a visualization application, but I was talking about kind of general ideas when it comes to creating prototypes of more complex spatial applications, because I find it hard to create low fidelity prototypes of interactions in VR.
Okay, I think maybe we are looping, but prototyping is just a means, like to give a talk. Also, I need a water to drink, for example. Prototyping just a means. It's not the ends. So what ends? What is a good enough prototype to convince whom? What ideas? You have to articulate this one very clearly. If you don't know the purpose, you dutch roll. You can't really get to the goal because goal doesn't exist. So I really encourage you to have a discussion with your colleagues or advisors. What is a real meaningful goal you can spend your precious time as a researcher or designer or engineer? Prototyping just means like a breathing air.
I don't think of prototyping as a means to an end, but rather a process that's iterated upon. But I'm talking about the kind of beginning stages.
From the beginning, if you don't know the goal, it's very difficult to stand out. So think about, Any other comments or suggestions? Yeah. Oh, great.
Hello, I'm Mary from France. I would like to say that sometimes technology can be overwhelming and that we can easily be in the position of consumption and like passive. And I really appreciate your more optimistic approach. You mentioned that we have to focus on what only humans can do. Can you elaborate on this? Like, what can we really do in front of challenges that we can meet today? What is our specificity as humans for you?
So I couldn't catch what's the question?
In what way? Like you say that computers are limited and humans are special. Can you tell us more about in what way or what can we as humans can do? Or like the only thing we can do. Yeah? Or what maybe another way to put it, what gives you hope in front of today's challenges, like technological challenges, environmental and so on? Like if as designers, engineers, there is something we can do.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are you a computer scientist?
I'm a designer. Designer, more product designer.
Do you write a code?
No. Product.
Okay,
designer.
encourage you.
Tangible things.
Write a code. Write a code. Do some simple deep learning stuff using neural network stuff. Then you clearly see, it never reach certain point because we know what human can do it. So without knowing the rival called technology or computers, people may scared or afraid or some So bunch of data, then recognize certain pattern. Of course, computer can do very good job, also sorting or counting or computing or predefined logic one. But we do a lot of the metaphorical jump because I use a lot of metaphor to come up with the ideas. Also, we really argue, discuss with a lot of people. Also, I got inspired from the city of the Prague or the art pieces. And also, I can do all the way to represent idea using a lot of sketches, for example. Then sleep on this idea. Next day, I keep sketching, for example. Also, talking is very important things. So what we're doing day to day, then knowing what computer can do today or 10 years, it's very clear. So basically, believe yourself, also creative part, also to study a bit about what computer can do today or maybe 10 years. Then you really know, you can really focus on the most important things, our creative contribution. Of course, delegating highly structured, repetitive, boring part. Let's machine do it, or let's robot do it. That's fine. But it doesn't really, don't be scared.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Professor. I would like to ask you about what you think about the future materiality. Can we await something like bio-inspired or biomaterials connections or growing materials, or what do you think about this topic? Because I really like the bio-inspired project, which you have to show us. So, that's the question.
So question is about material.
Yeah, materiality and the future materiality.
Okay. I'm not a material scientist, but seeing so many great contributions in science, nature. Also, there's a research community called MRS, Material Research Society. And so many amazing inventions happen in the material levels. Amazing textile, fiber, hydrogels, biological stuff. But they're waiting for the meaning given by the interaction designers or applied chemists or applied engineers. So a lot of the stuff is great. Then they measure the performance, but not reaching level of human interactions because scale is first different. Bacteria is so small, which might be more robust carbon nanotube, which is good for the airplanes, the wing, for example. But how people can directly get the benefit of this stuff requires bridging or interpretation. So keep our eyes on advancement in material science is very, very important, but also focusing about my case, how to bring to the interaction design or architecture design, or So material science inform us a lot, but they don't provide the answer because material science is focused on materials, but we focus human-material interaction. The loop is the key.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So what time shall we end? Okay. Yeah? Oh, but I'm hungry.
I would.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to ask. You show us a lot of interesting things, but I am just wondering if we would see something like this near future in the shops, like on the market. If it's possible, I just was thinking about it. It must be hard to compete with displays, that you can just easily project something on the screen, a lot of things. And these things are, in most of the times, they are just for one thing to do. Like the weather bottle, it can do just the weather forecast.
Because you listened to my lecture for 1 hour, so I encourage you to think how you may answer to these questions, because we don't have any perfect solutions. GUI, this machine is a monster which can emulate anything. No way to compete against this flexibility picture, also internet stuff or symbolic stuff. Tangible is very limited, fundamentally. But also, there's certain space you can really make tangible meaningful, like a landscape design, for example. So think, using your own perspective, how tangible can contribute, but not fighting directly against those pixel empire. Pixel empire is so strong. Darth Vader, the shadow, is so strong. So please think and let us know what your idea is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any last question from girls? I want to cheer up girls in technology and science.
Hi, thanks for your talk.
What's your name?
Lucia.
Lucia? Oh, nice. Thank you.
I'm curious about. Wow, it sounds so well done. Do you think in MIT and especially your department about a bit more holistic principles in design, not just about human-centered design, but also about more kind of spread into the others and maybe plants, animals, think more ecologically?
I think it's a very important question. Design is to solve the problems, articulate the problems, focusing stuff. So we do design, but we do all other stuff, artistic explorations, also scientific investigations, and also technical invention. So important things, we have to be all, not necessarily holistic, but we have to have a very strong passion about the vision, dream, basically goal, purpose. What kind of the future we want to make it? So in our case, we really want to make a new human-material interaction, which really enhance our experiences. To do so, we have to know material science, fabrication, but also design is important, but also coming up radical questions. Sometimes artistic thinking is very, very important. So speak all the language. Don't put the label like I'm a designer or artist. Then strong mutual respect to other disciplines, but also speak their language. Then keep translating your ideas to hold this dimension. It's important exercise. So basically our team is looking for Renaissance boy and Renaissance girls. But I received 313 applications for next fall, but I have only 1 or 2 slots. At a real tough, 200 times competitions. But if any sponsors can fund, then we can admit more people. So that's the reason also have to do fundraising seriously, because admitting more students, then returning them to society is something important contribution. We can do it. So, yeah, if you're interested about the MIT, talk to me. Yeah. So, is it okay to conclude? Okay. So thank you very much for tonight, and I hope you got some message, and hope tonight or tomorrow morning, if you start seeing the world a bit differently, I'm very happy. So what I talked does not have a real value. What kind of change may happen in your mind is a whole proof of the value if that exists. So thank you very much.